This year's World Championship will be the largest in League of Legends history, featuring 24 teams from 13 different regions around the globe. To get you ready for all the action, we'll walk you through all 18 non-NA and EU teams heading to Worlds and the standout players you should keep an eye on. Let's start in South America with Latin America North. Leon Gaming have won every single title in Latin America North's history. They're the only 9-time champions League of Legends has ever known. But while Leon have utterly dominated their home, they failed to qualify for Worlds for the past 3 years. Now, Leon is traveling to Worlds for the first time ever, and has a chance to prove that their undisputed history is a sign of strength and not of an unhealthy lack of competition. Seiya, once again, stands as the Bjergsen of the LLN, dominating each and every team from the mid lane. He's the most experienced and talented player in the region, and the only Leon player who's been there for all 9 local championships. Chaos Latin Gamers was once known for their meme-tastic mid laner El Reginaldo. Since then, they've continued to grow in Latin America South, chasing the level of competition seen in nearby Brazil. The result is a locally beloved team that boomerangs between first place and dead last. KLG drafted a roster of veterans for this season, but it's the rookie AD carry Fix that's been blowing up the charts. He'll be pairing up with one of the region's most successful supports in hopes of carrying Latin America South to groups. Brazilian teams have qualified for the last 3 World Championship group stages, claiming impressive victories against major teams like Edward Gaming, Two Tigers, and Alliance along the way. It will be up to Team 1 to continue that legacy at Worlds 2017. Team 1 had been the revelation of the 2017 winter season, winning the CB LoL Championship 1 split after promotion from Challenger Series. Although not considered by most analysts in Brazil as a mechanically strong team, Team 1 play an intelligent macro and rotational focused style of play, using side lane minion wave control and disciplined application of pressure around the map to neutralize the playstyles of enemy teams. Team 1's key players at Worlds will be ADC Absolute and top laner Verto. Verto is Team 1's best player in playoffs, and Absolute is a rising star of Brazilian League of Legends. Although Absolute has a more passive laning phase to allow support Redbert freedom to roam in the early game, his excellent teamfight positioning is the key to Team 1's late game success. Now, let's head across the Atlantic to Turkey. Few minor regions have ever been on an international stage. Turkey has appeared on them 3 times. Supermassive Esports and Dark Passage have both proven to be feisty underdogs at Worlds and MSI, but this time, Turkey will be led by 1907 Fenerbahce Esports, a team that was founded just this year. They may be new to League of Legends, but they're part of the century-old Fenerbahce family, a massive sports league with millions of diehard fans behind it. Frozen is not only the MVP of Fenerbahce, but the nearly undisputed MVP of all the TCL, winning 90% of the MVP vote. He was recruited to Fenerbahce after leaving LCK's Longzhou, and the organization has shuffled players around him until they found a winning formula. Just next door, the Commonwealth of Independent States will be sending one of the oldest league names to the World Championships, Gambit Esports. This is the organization that once ripped through the international tournaments with the legendary Moscow 5 roster, facing off against Reggie and QtPie before the LCS even existed. The team eventually lost their lineup, sold their EU spot, and moved to the young LCL region, where they struggled to return to the international limelight. This season, original M5 members Diamond Prox and Edward have teamed up with 2 Albus Nox Luna players that reached Worlds quarterfinals in 2016, and Gambit is ready to relive the old days. Old school fans should keep an eye on Diamond Prox and Edward, veterans thirsty for another title. The last time the 2 won a tournament under the Gambit flag, it was at IEM Cologne in 2014. And for newer fans, look out for Kira. He's played 10 splits in the CIS and won finals in 6 of them. The CIS's MVP is now their only 6-time champion. Now, let's move towards the Oceania region. Throughout league history, the OPL has been dominated by the Chiefs, yet has never been able to qualify for Worlds. This year, all of that changes. The Dire Wolves stole the Chiefs' crown in both 2017 OPL splits, and they will represent the region in its first shot at the World Cup, while longtime champions stay home. The Wolves have been a dominant voice in the OPL, and much of that is thanks to jungler Schernfire, quote, the poster child for the rising quality of macro and mechanical skill in OCE. He isn't humble about his role either. Here, he accepts the screaming fans of MSI's crowd in Brazil, and he doesn't even care that they're actually cheering for hometown hero BRTT. Moving north, we have Southeast Asia and their champions, the Gigabyte Marines. The Gigabyte Marines didn't win MSI, but they did walk away as heroes. After dominating Vietnam and Southeast Asia's GPL, they used their insanely aggressive playstyle to take down teams like G2, TSM, and Team WE.
Not step back into the seismic shove, but it may not matter. Flash forward! Levi is a monster!
Whether you think they're fearless or just plain reckless, the Gigabyte Marines are always entertaining. And this year, they want to shock you again. Superstar Levi will be jungling for the Marines. He tore up MSI with his lightning-fast smite steals, and his longtime synergy with Optimus means we'll be seeing more of the Marines' non-stop action.
Oh, Paranoia's dead. Levi goes in. Levi gets it again. Levi pulls the hero play.
After their MSI success, Gigabyte Marines earned a second seed for the region at Worlds, a spot that'll be taken up by Young Generation. The name fits. The roster is full of less than veteran talent. For two of these players, Young Generation is their first pro league team. But what Young Generation lacks in experience, they make up for with determination. With 5 players ready to make a name for themselves, who knows who will surprise? Be it Big Koro's aggressive Draven or Ren on his top Cassiopeia. Next up is the nearby LMS, which is sending 3 teams to Worlds: Flash Wolves, AHQ, and Hong Kong Attitude. Flash Wolves are the champions of Taiwan yet again after a 3-0 victory at the LMS Finals. That makes 4 straight titles for Flash Wolves as they head into Worlds, but the team still carries a chip on their shoulder after a disappointing performance at this year's MSI. Flash Wolves have dominated Taiwan with relative ease, but they're still looking for the luster of their 2015 Worlds performance where they took first place in their group over the Korean juggernaut Ku Tigers. Look towards Sword Art to lead the Flash Wolves charge into yet another international tournament. He finished first in All-Pro support voting and second in overall MVP voting, distinguishing himself as one of the best players the region has to offer. As an aggressive roaming support and teamfight catalyst, he is the key to Flash Wolves' success. Now it will be up to him at Worlds. This will be the 4th straight Worlds trip for AHQ Esports Club, even though they've played second fiddle to the illustrious Flash Wolves over the last 2 years. AHQ is one of the few teams at Worlds returning with a completely unchanged roster, and while that may favor AHQ in terms of synergy, that also means they will have the same problems as last year. Westdoor is very much the spirit of AHQ in terms of the team's playstyle, but is too easily exposed by world-class mid laners. For that reason, many call for the team to field their Singaporean mid laner, Chowie, who has generally been more consistent but less impactful. AHQ's mid lane platoon at Worlds may not be at the level of SKT's Faker and EasyHoon duo in 2015, but it's even more crucial to the team's success. With Worlds expanding this year, Hong Kong Attitude has the honor of being the first LMS team to qualify as 3rd seed. But HKA's qualification comes as a bit of a surprise, given that J-Team and Machi Esports have more successful histories in the region. However, the Hong Kong team managed to find its way into Worlds by playing a game of musical chairs, using 16 different players this year alone. One of the final players added to the roster, Unified, came over from the famous team Fireball and is now the primary carry for HKA. He's put the team on his back more than a few times on the likes of Tristana and Kog'Maw, so he'll need to do a lot more of that to ensure Hong Kong Attitude's group stage qualification. Over to the east, we have Japan and their historic rivalry between Rampage and Detonation Focus Me. These two teams are the only ones who've competed for the LGAO crown, and for 3 splits in a row, Rampage have stolen Detonation's chance to represent their home region. Rampage fell short at MSI, then dominated at the Rift rivals. Now they have to prove Japan, after all the recent competitive growth, can compete on the biggest international stage. Yutori Moyashi and his support Dara remain the most fearsome bot lane in Japan, having perfected their signature power trade-off. Yutori will sit tight in the early game, letting Dara aggressively roam all over the map. Later in the mid-game, Dara passes the torch to his teammate, giving Yutori the room he needs to pop off on hard carries. Now, let's head into the LPL and toss it over to Froskerin for a look at China's 3 world teams: EDG, RNG, and Team WE.
EDG are the premier LPL organization. Everything really, or every team in the LPL should really aspire to the success and the decoration that EDG have. They have a very proven track record with their support staff, their coaching staff, that they can run pretty much different players in every single position and continually find greatness. One of my favorite stats is out of 8 attempts at an LPL final, EDG have made it 6 times. And out of 6 appearances in finals, they have taken the title 5 times. And the only player to play in every single one of those is Clearlove. I think Hai is an incredible player, but Hai and Clearlove to me are very similar. You know, Clearlove is not renowned for his mechanical ability. He's not the flashy player. He's not the guy that's going to style on you and kill you, but he is a genius, and he is recognized for his shot calling and his leadership qualities and that veteran status. And they have a very similar trajectory where, you know, like Hai left and he came back, and every team that he's on, he's able to, you know, dig deep, scrounge, and lead them to victory. And I think Clearlove has that same intangible X factor to him. RNG come in, kind of changing the flagship of their organization. You know, it's always been the Uzi show for as long as Starhorn Royal Club, RNG, whatever iteration, the artist formerly known as title you want to give them, it's usually always been about Uzi. And now it is about Xiaohu. They make this very clear. They've changed up their style. He's the centerpiece. Uzi was injured. I think it was an elbow injury, so he's only played half the split. He is playing very well, consistently as always. We have high expectations for Uzi, but Xiaohu is just playing on another level. And I think their 1-3-1 is really strong, but it's only because of Xiaohu and his ability to juggle all of these different pressure points on the map to create team fighting opportunities for RNG.
Where is the knife? Yahoo! He's done it! He's taken down Mystic! Not a fight!
WE are still chasing their legacy of 2012 and what could have been. They've been with this roster for close to 2 years now, and they started very much at the bottom. They effectively got a mid laner who was known as a Twisted Fate one-trick. Messiah. No, it's Xie. They picked up an AD carry named Mystic, who is kind of nobody from Korea. They knew that this was going to be a long-term development type of team, and now they're finally reaping the rewards of what 2 years of developed trust and practice has brought into them. We used to call them 5 B-tier players that came together to make an S-tier team, but now it's closer to, you know, 2 or 3 S-tier players that still make probably the best shot that China has at winning worlds. Mystic is the best AD carry in the LPL. And people can say, oh, that's debatable, it should be Uzi. Uzi beat him last time. No, statistically, Mystic is the best player or the best ADC. He does a ridiculous supply of damage. Wei Xiao was the godfather of ADC. He defined how to play it. I have the feeling that he's almost kind of been trained up to be the new Wei Xiao.
Last up is Korea, who will also send 3 teams to Worlds: Longzhu, SKT, and Samsung Galaxy. This season's Longzhu really reminds us of SKT T1 in 2013. Both teams rose up out of nowhere and clinched the summer title of LCK. Both teams feature extremely strong laning phase and team coordination. It's too early to tell if Longzhu is the strongest team right now, but this year's Worlds will be its chance to rewrite history, just like SKT T1 did in 2013. Continuing the parallels between this team and 2013 SKT, Khan is the faker of Longzhu, the playmaker that can completely change the game. In the LCK finals, Khan completely destroyed SKT, and in Game 4, almost single-handedly carried the game with his Jace. All eyes will be on Khan to see if he can lead his team to victory in his first ever international appearance. SKT T1 is history's greatest League of Legends team, yet this year has been disappointing in a number of ways, with an unprecedented 8-game losing streak in LCK, and first ever loss in an LCK final against Longzhu. Even so, SKT is packed with sheer talent and experience, including the unkillable Demon King Faker and the legendary coach Koma. SKT's decision to pick up Huni over more consistent Untara means that SKT is placing its bet on Huni's potential to carry. As we saw in Game 3 of the LCK Finals, Huni can carry his team to victory, even against Longzhu's Khan.
Save him, Huni picks up the kill in the end, he dodges everything, the dazzle not enough, and he just won.
We also saw, however, that Huni can really tilt and crash his team to oblivion. Will this bet pay off? We'll see. It's Huni's time to shine. SKT's title depends on him. Samsung Galaxy is the most balanced and consistent team of the 3 LCK teams going to Worlds. They don't have the stellar rookies of Longzhu or the legends of SKT, but they're the only LCK team with an unchanged roster from last season. As Samsung heads to Worlds, they're going to bet on the teamwork to clinch the title they narrowly missed last year. If there's something Samsung Galaxy have that no other LCK Worlds teams do, it's Ambition's experience. Ambition debuted in the very first season of LCK back in spring 2012 and won the title. Since then, he's had ups and downs, and now uses his 5 years of experience to lead Samsung's squad as its jungler. And there you have it, all 18 non-LCS teams competing at Worlds. Now that you know their stories, we're going to sell out some more to ourselves by telling you again to use the Blitz Esports mobile app to follow along all the World's action. The app features live stats for all the games, up-to-date schedule, tournament standings, and the latest news. Just search Blitz Esports in the App Store or Google Play Store.